All right, so here we have the beginning of a web service, and that web service right now is handling the manipulation of this very simple data model. And that's really two different tasks, two different roles that should actually be split up into dedicated layers, right? That one is concerned with mapping the world, a streaming world, right? That is coming from an HTTP request, mapping it to some object world, right? Is very much like a web service on the client side. Here we have the same thing, kind of like the reverse side, right? On the server side. The data manipulation shouldn't really live here. So instead, we're going to split this into two different layers. One that does service manipulation, and then the other one does data manipulation. Right? So in a separate directory, we're going to have a dedicated data access layer or data access object layer that is going to have the responsibility of manipulating the data. Right? A better name might be also model, or actually no, we could have a model in a separate directory. We'll have models a little later when we introduce Mongo next week. So here let's create another file, and we'll do all the data manipulation here. So for students, so this will be student.dao.server.js, right? And instead of having everything here in the service, we're going to migrate a lot of this stuff into the DAO. So we're going to move that here. These create functions, right? We're going to move them over there. We're going to create a module.exports. This is going to be a function. It doesn't take any arguments. Right? It's going to declare these functions. These functions are not going to care about the request and response. Right? They're not going to be participate in the HTTP layer, right? That's going to be the responsibility of the service, right? This one only cares about manipulating data, right? It doesn't care whether this is coming from HTTP, from a database, or from within the same Node.js calling one another, right? So this is going to take as argument an actual student. So this is student, and it's going to just push student.student, okay? And the find all is just going to be a function that takes no arguments, and this one just is going to just return just the students. Okay. Now for folks to be able to use this function, notice that this is a function. See that? It needs to return something, right? That other folks can make use of. To call these functions. So it needs to export something. So it's going to return a map. It's going to return a map of these functions. Right, if you remember, when it's a map in ES6, this is just a JSON object that has name value pairs of the same name. Right? They have the same label and same values. So this function returns this map. Now from my service, I can import that. I can say const student DAO. I can go up one and down to DAO and then to student DAO. Right, so that's my, and it's a function, so I'm going to call the function right here. So this require returns a function. And these parentheses immediately invoke that function, right? So it returns the map. So this DAO here is just that map that comes back from that function. So from here, the create student, right? This is the function that is handling the request, right? It's going to be written in terms of the DAO, student DAO, right? Which is going to say create student, and it's going to retrieve the request body from here. Right, so that's the so now what we've done is that we've created two layers as opposed to having everything in one layer. One layer only cares about data. It doesn't care where it comes from. Right? I can use it here in my service, but I can use it other places where it's not necessarily the service. It could be maybe a migration script from a database or something, right? So that's a good practice, right? Break up layers depending on the roles of each one of the files, right? And then encapsulate them and reuse them appropriately. Okay. Same thing with find all users will be written instead of a student DAO, then find all students. There we go. Okay. So let's see if this still works. Let's rerun this. Let's refresh. Apparently not. Find all users. Oh, I need to respond. I need to send back. Response that send whatever the student DAO find all students, and this also response that send or JSON whatever that comes back, and this should be respond.json and send back whatever that comes back. Let's try it again. There we go. So it does work. Everybody good? All right. All right. So excellent. So we've broken up one layer, right, and broken it up to appropriately divided layers. Let's now implement a couple more features.